Welcome to Coffee Connect, everyone. I'm Rodney. I don't think we have any new folks on today. We might have scared them all away last week when they were on. But oh nope, speak. See, I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon, and so we're going to have some great conversations today. Hopefully, you're going to make some great connections today as well. If you enjoy the conversation, please email me at ccinfo at addictedtoconnecting.com. I'm happy to get you on the invite list as well. We will be recording and posting this to the Coffee Connecting the Grind YouTube channel, where you can get connected at the website of www.addictedtoconnecting.com. And the next 3 weeks, right? Really, the next 4 weeks are going to be focused on leadership and leadership subtopics, right? Today, we're going to really kind of dive into the person that you're bringing into the room and how that presence is being felt or how it is being distributed to not only the team or the one-on-ones that you're having, right? But how does that help perpetuate you and your team's goals and the things that you're trying to achieve, right? And so, there's I think we've all come across good leaders, right? I shared a story yesterday, and we had a guy, and he was a good leader, right? There was no doubt, but all of us have some flaws every once in a while that maybe we're just not aware of, or we get complacent to, or whatever, right? And this gentleman I'm talking about, right? He would walk into a room, and almost everybody, unless you had a real relationship with him that you could sit down and talk to this person, felt as if once he walked in the room, he was just going to be like, "Listen, guys, this is the way it's going to be. This is what's going to happen. This is the way we're going to do it." Right? Any questions? Go execute. Right? And as most of us know, there's probably a time and a place for things like that, right? But in a normal, every day-to-day culture, right, it really helps a leader to listen more than he speaks, right? And I'm using he generally, ladies. Please do not get offended, right? However that leader speaks, right? Listen, it's much easier to listen and much better for you to listen and understand that people like Karen and Nancy and Brian and Steve and everybody's going to have valuable input to how we can accomplish things probably a little bit better and a little bit more faster and a little bit more efficiently, and maybe even a way that we can save money and probably morally and ethically and legally, right? All of those things are important in all of those aspects when we're making decisions. And so when you come in with one set of rules, I think you hurt the team more than you help them, right? And so we want to dive into this whole presence thing a little bit today as well, the influence that we have. And maybe you've been in positions before where you've walked into rooms and that's exactly how people have felt, right? I said we should all agree today as we're going through our breakout sessions, because we're going to do some breakouts and get a chance to speak in smaller groups, right? That we show up fully, right? We all have experience to speak from, and we can use our own stories. And I would encourage you to share those experiences and stories today. And we don't have any judgment here in Coffee Connect, right? We share some crazy stuff. A couple weeks ago, I shared that I was arrested for a felony, right? And I think most people were aghast. What? Rodney arrested for a felony? No way, right? So we do create honesty here, right? And I think we have to be that way, right? And it's always been a place where we can say, hey, let's take what works, leave the rest, right? And it's okay as well. There is some level of confidentiality, because whatever is discussed in the breakout rooms, guys, is not brought back to the main room into the recording, right? Unless you are willing to share it into the main room at that point. And so you're always teaching, right? How many of you guys feel like at all times the world has its eyes on you, right? I feel that way sometimes, whether it be my children, my teammates, right? The leaders that are around me, or maybe it's just people out and about in general that are watching for lessons that they can learn about others and hopefully about themselves. The question is what are you teaching, right? Integrity goes back to saying that we're doing the right thing even when no one is looking. And I think it's very important as leadership quality that we bring integrity into the conversation, because it is important, right? And so your presence is that message as well, right? Do you walk in with orders all the time, or do you walk in with intention of inclusion? Energy will always precede our words. People will feel your presence long before they get your message, right? Or process that message. We have the ability as leaders really to set the tone for how things are going to go. And I think we've all been in boardrooms before or conversations before that when the leader walks in and lays down his or her agenda at the beginning, as opposed to saying, we know this is the topic. Carla, what do you think? Tim, what do you think? Right? Catherine, what do you think? Right? And start to get everybody's inputs so that the leader in the end can help figure out what the decision or what process needs to play into taking that thing to the next level or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, right? Unmanaged energy leaks. Listen, there's times all the time, right? We're not going to feel it. I remember when I was in recruiting duty, right? PMA. Anybody know what PMA is? This is important for all you people that are in search mode, right? PMA is positive mental attitude, right? My senior recruiter in my office used to tell me, if you don't have PMA today, you might as well just go home. Because if you're making phone calls to young men and young women to join the Navy, right, and you sound blah, 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 you're not going to make any progress, right? But if you're making calls and you sound excited about the life that you're living, the work that you're doing and the impact that you can have and those things, that energy gets felt across the phone lines, right? And across the room when you're in a in-person room, even here on Zoom, right? I noticed when I got excited there, Pam had a little bit of a smile on her face, right? She started, hopefully that energy is transforming, right? And so we've got to understand where are our unmanaged energy leaks. And we all come across times that we're sitting in meetings and this is our own worst enemy, right? That we're too busy looking at the phone, looking at the text that we just got, or looking at the voicemail that just came in, or whatever else it might have been, right? As opposed to me staying focused on what is the conversation that Ray and I are having, right? What is the intention of this meeting that we're having? What are we hoping to get out of this, and how am I helping to contribute versus take away from it, right? And then we have to understand that these are all choices, right? I don't walk into a room blowing it all to heck, right? And creating chaos and destruction without the choice in my mind that I had to go do that. Okay. And so understanding the difference between kind of that present leader and absent leader, I think, is important to us. And maybe you're starting to think of some times, right? Some moments in your life or moments in your life that either you were on the receiving end of this, where you were sitting down with someone and the leader across from you was kind of absent. Or maybe you were the leader that was absent and you just didn't know it, right? I talked about the gentleman before who had that presence in the room, that when he would come in, unless you had a relationship with him and could have true conversations, everyone in the room would always feel as if he was just going to say, this is the law, this is the way it's going to be. Until one day when I had a conversation with him, right? We sat down. I said, hey, you realize, like, you walk in the room, this is already what people are expecting of you, right? And then you want to pull people aside instead of letting that true leader come out in you and let it be observed amongst the entire team. You pull individuals into a room one-on-one and you go, what do you think? And I told him, I said, the perception of you as a leader would be so much broader and so much better if you did that in the organization, in the group, right? So that everyone's seen that you wanted to hear what others thought, right? And it was crazy because that conversation sparked a whole change in his attitude and his mentality about how he approached meetings and how he approached one-on-one conversations, right? One-on-one conversations were meant for true private conversations, not necessarily team or organizational things that were happening, right? And so typical skills that are out there that we need to stay focused on, right? as leaders, if we really want to make presence felt, right? Obviously, active listening, right? Listening to understand, not respond. And also asking the why is that important to us, or why, asking those additional questions to kind of better understand it all. Full attention. I don't know how many times I sit there and I talk to people, and Zoom is tough because I feel like I'm looking at the camera and I feel like I'm looking at you. Uh, and sometimes I don't, right? But full attention, right? Eyes are pointed ahead, right? Focus directly on the person in front of you. And preferably you're not sitting there like this with your arms crossed, and your body language speaks thousands of words, right? Unhurried pace. It took a long time for me, especially when I got into this business, right? What I'm doing, to slow myself down and understand that not everybody catches the things that I am putting out as fast as what I'm putting them out, right? And sometimes it's better just to take a breath, right? Obviously, the emotional attunement as well is important, right? And understanding that we want to make people feel as though they are important, right? And so, guys, first breakout today is simple, right? What energy are you bringing into the room? And just some reflection questions there, right? Think about a meeting or an interaction. What energy did you walk in with, and how might have others experienced that same interaction? What are your personal drains maybe that you're having right now? You don't have to answer all of these, but hopefully you can have some conversations about some of these, so that when you come back into the main room, that you have some things that you can share and we can all learn from when we return. All right. And so I've got breakout rooms shuffled. So who's not acting like the leader they thought they were? Daniel. Right.
Oh yeah,
Who's had it? Yeah. And who's had experience with other leaders that they were like, wow, I wouldn't have thought that of this person. Right. So go ahead.
no, I just want to point out, Corinne. This is she says she's got a few minutes before she needs to leave. I want to give her a chance to share something.
Yeah, please introduce yourself too, Kareem, because this is your first time with us too. So you're muted too. I'm sorry.
Is it? I'm Karin Bergener, and I'm doing fractional in-house legal work. So, but my specialty really is doing the very unsexy commercial contracts with customers and suppliers, and just making the wheels turn in a business. So, primarily looking at manufacturing companies in probably $2 to $5 billion range, but I'm flexible. Karin Bergener, and my contact information is in the chat.
Perfect. What else did you want her to share, Daniel?
Hey, Karen, what area
Karin,
are you?
That's all right. What area? What?
What area is home?
Where do you live?
I live in Freedom, but I work remote. So yeah,
And that's a suburb of what?
it's in Portage County. It's 7 or 8 minutes east of Ravenna downtown.
Yeah, you have to remember, I'm in Cincinnati. We're
Akron, Canton.
Oh, visual. Here's
Akron,
the visual.
Canton.
No, you have to do the visual here. Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown, me, middle of the triangle.
Okay. The Devil's Triangle. There we go. Right in the middle of the Devil's Triangle.
I drive through that triangle on a regular
Spoken
basis.
like someone from Cincinnati.
So all right, let's get on with the topic now. Right? I mean, what energy are you walking into the room with? Like who's had some experiences where something similar to what I've shared with you, right? I mean, we had a leader that just would walk in the room and we thought that was gonna be the law. Nobody's ever had experiences like that. You guys have all worked for great companies and great leaders.
I've actually
we teach people not to speak bad of a former employer, so that's
True.
You don't have to use names.
Okay.
So when I walk into a meeting, what I expect is an agenda. We hold accountability for any actions that come out of that meeting. And we go in with creativity because we're there to solve problems and make sure they're practical. With that being said, always positivity. Sometimes you have to check it at the door, dealing with upper management.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other side of that is that regardless of your thoughts to the solution, right? When you walk out of the room, you need to be on board with what we're going to do, right? You can't go express your difference of opinion to all the minions, because how's that going to come across? You're not a unified leadership team, and things, right, could only be of detriment at that point if you're doing that. And so,
and sometimes side conversations do happen inside of meetings. That's when you need to take charge and say we need to have a side conversation elsewhere. So you're still dealing with the problem, just not right then.
Yeah. What energy drains do you guys have?
Hey, Rodney, I want to back up to your previous question. I've sat on a lot of committees in businesses or on boards for nonprofits. And you have to remember that when you show up, everyone has the same goal in mind and they all have good intentions. So you may get it, everybody may be approaching it at a different angle and have different ways of getting there. Sat on a lot of boards where people fight and argue, and you're really trying to get to you're after the same results. So it's not worth fighting about how you get there because you have the same intentions involved. And that's where everybody needs to sit back and breathe and say, hey, we're all after the same ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. Let's think about, how can we collaborate to get there? It's not worth fighting about.
Exactly. And like, who wants to take that energy home with them too, right? If you're sitting there fighting at work all day, for sure. All of those things bleed over. So curious, like we'll throw, I want to throw this out there. Like we'll do a round robin, right? We always, it'll be your turn. And then you can pass the baton to somebody, right? When we're talking about this, but, so when you walk into a room, what do people instinctively feel, right? I'll tell you what it was for me for a long time. Here comes the pot stirrer, right? Here comes the pot stirrer. Mm-hmm. Manu, what about you, buddy?
What does posture mean? What does
pot
it?
Stir the pot. Right?
Stirring the pot.
Going to stir the pot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I am the guy that likes to ask the crazy questions.
Whacking the beehive.
What? Yeah. There you go, Manu. That's it. Right?
I'm not sure. My friends of mine, they called me the human Wikipedia. And so they're like, anytime they want to know something, they always ask me. And it's like, why are you asking me that? I don't know. 9 times out of 10, it's just nothing that I know about. But they ask me anyway.
Yeah.
I think I know everything.
Pass the baton to somebody.
Pass the baton to Daniel Johnson.
I bring light and energy and life. I brighten the room up when I come in. That's typically how I walk in. When people see me, it's like I bring energy, positive energy. Let's see who else. I'm gonna pass it over to Brian Bellman.
You're on mute. You're still on mute.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Sorry, user error. Let me see. First of all, I said thanks, and then let me see. I would like to bring positive energy. I think I can sometimes be negative. What do I bring? I bring intelligence, curiosity, and
so the question is what do other people feel when you're walking in the room?
oh, what do other people feel? Uh, Probably, oh God, here comes Bellman, but
And what does that mean, though, when they say that?
Why do they
yeah.
say that?
Yeah.
Um, I think because sometimes, okay, so I'm gonna overshare slightly here. I have ADHD, so I think sometimes, although I am intelligent, I do seem disorganized because I lose my place when I'm speaking or lose my place in thought because, I'm already thinking about three other things past what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think that's why people feel that way.
Thanks for the elaboration there too, Brian. I appreciate that. Go ahead and pass it to one more person, then we're going to kind of continue on with this.
Oh, okay. Julie.
Well, I think that what people think is, oh my God, she's here. But my meetings are really interactions because I just go to a lot of networking meetings. I don't really have like formal meetings like in an office or a business or something like that. But it's strange because sometimes people are talking about me before I've actually even entered the room. And I had that happen last week. 3 different times I went to something they're saying, we were just talking about you.
Because you're a legend.
Ears are burning.
So if we know what people are thinking, then the question becomes, is that really what I want them to think? Right? Is that how I want them to feel? Is that what I want them focused on when I'm walking into the room? Or do I want them focused on, man, I'm glad Rodney's here because he's going to add a lot of value to the conversation, right? He's going to be able to ask the questions that we need to be asked, right? I'm glad Brian's here because Brian gives us the ability to take a couple steps back and go, okay, let's think about this for a second. We don't have to spit out a bunch of words because we want to spit out a bunch of words, right? We can think about what we're going to say and hopefully, get ourselves to the point where we're looking at 2 or 3 steps ahead. Well, that's great that we can do this, but how's that affect this and this and this right down the road?
That's another issue I have is sometimes not fully thinking through things before I speak.
It's all right.
And when you're in a room of collaborators, that shouldn't be a problem because you should also be willing to say, accept the feedback or accept the questioning and criticism that might come from somebody on your left or your right, to help you as a team, get to the end result that you need. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anybody else comments real quick before we move on?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I think the question is a bit odd to say what other people are perceiving you or what they're thinking. 'Cause you can't control that and you don't know unless they tell you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm a Black woman, so I grew up inherently trying to be aware of my surrounding and how people are taking me. And so I know that when you walk into a room that people don't know you, they have of who they think a list of who they think you are and what and unless you come in and express yourself and they already know you. But to say what what people are thinking when you walk in, I don't know. I don't know if I could ever answer that.
Man,
can I try, Rodney, real quick?
Go for it, Dave. Yep, go ahead.
Forget the group meetings. When I had my staffing and recruiting business, I would bring people in to congratulate them when somebody at the hospital said you did a great job. 99% of them were walking back to my office, even though there was a smile on the front desk people's faces, they thought they were in trouble because they were coming to the owner of the company.
Yeah.
And I knew that. So right off the bat, you just go, "Hi, what do you think you're here for?" And they go, "What did I do?" And that was a great line because almost 90% of them would say that. You go, "You did something really good," and you could flip the script. So there are times when you can kind of get that notice, but I agree with you, Kat. It to try to anticipate what the people are feeling isn't right unless there's some statistical sampling to back it up. And in that case, people that were making $10 an hour coming to the boss's office in any work environment kind of think, what the heck's going on? What did I do?
Yeah, and I think also, right, as leaders, we should always be soliciting feedback, right? We should always be asking our team, right, how can I be a better leader, right? And how maybe you're not asking the direct question of how do I make you feel when I walk in the room, right, or whatever. But I think we even as leaders need to go, hey, I got to be willing to give this guy or gal true feedback, right? True criticism, and understand that I'm here to help them rise up as much as what they are here to help me rise up, right? And so, presence is important to us. This is going to lead into actually what next week's conversation is a communication side, but I want to do one more breakout room today to kind of get our heads wrapped around some of this, right? Explore one of the challenges that we have, right? How do we address this? Like when we aren't feeling being felt the way we need to be felt, or heard the way we need to be heard, or seen the way we need to be seen. How do we address this with others, right? And so I think we can name the impact and all of those things that are listed there, right? And as Catherine said, we only have control over what we have control. And obviously that's not other people's feelings and stuff, but we do have the control of the ability to say, hey, can I get some feedback about the conversation we just had, or the things that we were just talking about, right? And I think those are big. There's a thing up there, explore one of the hardest leadership challenges. What do you do when someone you deeply respect, a mentor, a senior leader, peer, doesn't matter, right, is chronically absent from your meetings, right? How do you address it? How do you protect it? Because if you've got a relationship, you want to maintain that relationship, but things are not where they need to be, right? And so we're going to go to a second breakout room, have this conversation. I should have shuffled them up or give somebody else the permission to shuffle them up for me, because I did not do that. Recreate. We're going to go for maybe 7 or 8 minutes, guys. I may have just heard the most insightful thing. Right.
I feel much better about myself now.
And I don't know if you guys all know this, but the conversation was, I don't think you have to care what people think. Wait, how did it go? To know you're a good human being, right? And still be a good human being. I'm looking at like April, like help me out here.
Oh, all I said, I think, was you cannot care what people think about you, but you can still be a good human being.
Yes. And that's so true in so many such situations and circumstances, guys. And so let's wrap this up, because we're at 10:58, and you guys met Karin earlier. She's new. She's also part of Cleveland Area Networking up there with Jeff and those guys. That she's been coming 2 or 3 weeks now, I know. And I would ask, as always, like don't let the conversations end today with what we're talking about here, right? I mean, I'm a each one teach one, right? And maybe there were some lessons that came out, or some insights that came out in your conversations, in your breakout rooms, or even in the main room here, right? That you were like, oh man, there's maybe there's some different ways that I can approach this, or maybe there's a different way that I can approach a leader that's in front of me that I feel has some of these gaps, we'll call them, right, in their leadership, right? And so practice the doorway moment. Understand that it is with intention that we can enter either one-on-one conversations or team meetings and stuff like that, right? I would ask you that we reflect, right? That we be honest with ourselves. as we might not know what other people think, right? Put yourself in their shoes, right? If you approached, or if you were approached by your leader the way you are approaching people, how would that make you feel? Right? How would that make you feel? And I think that will answer probably 80% of the question that's out there, right? And so I ask you to carry it forward, right? Before you walk through the door, I choose who I want to be every day. I wake up in the morning knowing what I want to do, what I want to have intention around my life with, right? And so I ask that we all take a moment this week, right? And when we're getting ready to go into a one-on-one conversation, that we truly approach it with the intention that it was, that it was set for. And then ask yourself, what am I bringing, right? What is the energy that I'm bringing into the moment? Preparation goes a long way. And so when you have conversations, I think it's important that you prepare yourself as much as possible, right? And then step through it with the intention that you set out to do it in the first place. It's not